Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. Good morning. Ooh, it's Saturday. It's Saturday. It's Saturday. Y'all, what's today? The 16th, January the 16th. This year is absolutely flying by. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. Let me see where my trusty co-hosts are this morning. Let's see. There he is. Good morning, David.
Whoops.
Good
Switched over.
morning.
Yeah, good morning. I'm wearing my Earned Big Money, Become a Historian t-shirt.
Earn big money. I don't know. Is it big money in being a historian?
Oh, yeah.
Historian.
This is the supreme irony, and that, of course, is the old man, Karl Marx himself. This is from the Radical Historians Organization from many years ago. Um, but, yeah, that's the irony of the academic proletariat that I've been a member of for decades now.
Mm, mm. Let's see
Um,
where Miss Robbie is. She's here. Good morning. How are you?
No complaints, better than I was last week, like everybody else. Last week was too much.
Last week was like your everything was falling apart. Everything. You couldn't get your internet, and you were driving, and your internet still wasn't working.
Last week, I was on the verge of being a conspiracy theorist. I think I'm more subtle, maybe. I don't know.
I'll tell you, Robbie, it's a lot of information out there, and we are, truly living in an age where people have to be informed and engaged, and there's more than one perspective, and not just the Democrats, not just Republicans. It's just there's other things going on out there, and we need to be engaged and informed. So I ain't mad at you.
Reminds me these days of the devil's in the details, or there's always three sides of truth. One version, two versions, and then we're really
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest part, being able to decipher what is believable based on the information we're provided, and including the information we're probably not provided.
Absolutely. David, how you been?
I'm doing okay. I just came across something that I really would like to talk about this morning. Reverend Dexter Wimbish is running for the district attorney in the counties of Fayette, Pike, Spalding, and Upton. South of Clayton, and he is. I read over his responses to the NAACP questionnaire for district attorneys for the race, which is also was sponsored by the Informed Georgians for Justice. Now, this is the area south of Clayton, between Noonan and 85, 75 as they split going southwest and southeast. It has been a strongly red county area until now. This is a special election. He has a real chance of winning it, and it's on Tuesday, February 9th is the special election. So and he's having I guess an event at 6 p.m. on MLK Day on Monday, which you can get access to joining it at bit.ly/register rev wimbish, and donate at bit.ly/donate rev wimbish. That's WIMBISH.
So what happened to the district attorney that was there?
That I don't know, but clearly this, he has either resigned, died, or something has happened to cause a special election, and it seems to me that this is a kind of a situation where the mobilizations that have happened, in the last 10 years, but particularly in the last in both the presidential and the runoff elections could make a big difference. Um, so I'm just suggesting that this is, I mean, having a progressive district attorney in that area, which is got a large black population, but one that has not been able to do what they've done in Henry and Clayton County, that is, take over the political administration, the county administrations, could be a real major shift in the fortunes of poor working people, black poor and working people, but also you know white poor. I mean, he checked off um, uh, every one of his answers to this NAACP Informed Georgians for Justice was that he wants alternatives to cash bail. He wants district attorneys to charge for the crimes that there's evidence for. In other words, no inflated charges to get plea bargains. He wants drug alternatives. He wants no administrative uh, what do you call it? Infractions to cause people to lose their bail and get put back in prison. I mean, he really has just a consistent down the line progressive agenda. Having him in a position as powerful as district attorney, he's a judge. He's also a minister in Griffin.
Have you talked to him yet, David? I saw where you were attempting to reach out. Have you
Yeah,
talked to him yet? Maybe we can get him on the broadcast and let him
yeah,
speak for himself. I think it'd be
absolutely.
important that
Next
those in the
Saturday.
area hear from him in as
Yeah,
many places
yeah,
digitally as possible. So, David, I continue to reach out and maybe we can get him on and have a conversation with
yeah.
him.
He already replied. He's available next Saturday. So
Okay.
I didn't want to spring that on you, without hearing, your what your thoughts were about it. But yes, he did reply to me. He said he's available next Saturday. So all you or us need to do is just reach out and set it up with him. But
Okay.
it really does seem like a very um, he's having an event, as I said, on Monday night. District Attorney Deborah Gonzalez, I don't know what county she's in, Naomi Barber King, the sister-in-law of Martin Luther King, and Renee Robertson, civil rights activist.
Is he a demo? Is he running hot? Is it
I don't know if he's running as a Democrat or
or an
an
independent? Okay, we'll find
I
out. So,
think,
David, we'll leave that up to you. We'll toss
yeah.
that ball to you since you've already and you're tapping on the table, David, because you're making me drunk.
Sorry.
Stop tapping on the table. I'm like, oh.
It's not tapping. It's bouncing my leg.
Okay,
My
you're
nervous
making us
habit.
jiggle, David.
Yeah.
Robbie, what's going on in your world? What's going on in your world? We were supposed to have Ken on this morning. Hopefully, we can have him on as well. Since we'll have if we can get the district attorney, maybe we can get Ken to follow up with some police reform. I have been following a policy. I actually started a broadcast on YouTube. Everybody, YouTube only. At 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern to 7:30 p.m. Eastern weekdays. It'll be Monday through Thursday. And I've started a few weeks ago, but I've been keeping up with Congress. I've been following legislation from from the feds. These congressional members, these House members, these U.S. senators. We're gonna keep up with Congress, and we're gonna stay abreast and alert. One piece of legislation we can bring this next week with Ken, and hopefully the district attorney will join us, is around licensure of policing. And Robbie, I thought you would find that quite interesting. As a realtor, you are a licensed professional. So imagine, the accountability that you have as a realtor. You have a licensing board, you have a set of standards, you can be held accountable. So imagine if we were able to have licensure for police officers across every state. It's reciprocity. You can't just go from one state to another state. You got to have some conduct. It's just so many ways we can hold police accountable. And I found that legislation quite interesting, Robbie. Like I said, because you're a realtor, you understand. And I was a licensed nail tech, so I understand how that you can hold people accountable.
Well, it gives you something to lose. You've earned some type of accreditation, whatever they want to call it, and it has to be regulated. So at this point, I think people have realized, especially with the circumstances at the Capitol, and the police involvement, in the insurrection. Even using these terms these days sounds so odd. But yes, that is a no-brainer, really.
I mean, it probably would be complicated by the fact that these jurisdictions are local or state, but certainly it could be the Congress could pass a law that establishes a licensing not a requirement, because they couldn't do that. They couldn't intervene, but they could establish a licensing system. And then the pressure would come from below to demand that all police in a jurisdiction, whether it be Atlanta or a little podunk three cop small town what do you call it, police force.
David, Robbie is licensed by the state, right? Robbie, you're licensed by the state of
Georgia. Like for an agent, just like anything you have to literally be part of a board, and then there's the national.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that this is really brilliant in the sense that it could foment or encourage movements from below to demand that all police in a particular jurisdiction be licensed. It could not. Yes, you're right. It would have to be either states or localities that would do it. But if the federal government set up a licensing system, that would be an incentive or a way of encouraging people to demand that all of their police in their district be licensed. And it's a great idea.
It might send a balance too. Right now, a lot of times who gets involved is the police union, and they kind of protect dirty cops. It's, obviously there's been kind of a pattern of that. Yeah. So, and then on top of it, because the police have, color of law protection from lawsuits, and, we as taxpayers pay for, their defense even when they behave badly, which is why people normally have to go in civilly. They can lose criminally, but win a civil case. But it may create some balance, because what has happened with the citizen review boards is often, it's just kind of a front of a board, and it doesn't half the time even apply to police brutality cases. I actually went through that system in Atlanta, went through the ethics system, went through the citizens review board, and witnessed that for myself. I was with a woman, I want to say in 2010, who was profiled. She was assaulted. Another woman was there, filmed it, went viral. We all were arrested, and I kind of have firsthand knowledge. So I was trying to get a pancake with a Black person in Buckhead, and apparently, no. Ironically, 10 years later, it did settle. I'm not allowed to really talk about it, but the damage was done. You have an arrest. The claims on your arrest forms, are there. I lost several jobs because of it. The other, consulting jobs, et cetera. The other women who were involved all had already, lost damage to reputation, even though there was actually never a conviction on it. The DA's office was complicit. They were like, oh, as a first-time offender, you can take this program. It won't ever hurt you. I had it in writing. Not so. So, yeah, I really have a first-hand understanding of this plea deal. And I think personally, just any type of oversight, as long as the details, the details are what really matters in these agreements and how these boards are constructed. Right. Tamara was asking, what's going on in Atlanta, and our mayor's gotten appointed to DC. And we've got, I sent you the article. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, the article's in your messenger box. It just came out like in the last day or two. And obviously, we talked a little bit about this last week when I could get on, but the Atlanta City Council voted raises for themselves the same day as the election. You have that too. You have some screenshots and the amounts. The mayor got a $20,000 raise. City Council got a $12,000 raise. And we've approved on January 7th bonds for housing. And that all sounds really good, along with, you know, what Joe Biden, our president-elect, president-to-be, et cetera, is talking about. But the issue is the details of that. So if you look at those, if you look at the details of what's being created with these housing bonds that we're borrowing to build the affordable housing, they're apartments. And the issue with apartments is that they don't create any generational wealth. So, you know, when you add up, and I've been seeing, and this is kind of where I get a little paranoid, you know, Bezos is part of this affordable housing, and he'll be lending our government money to build affordable housing. So that can get kind of tricky, because in those contracts, there's collateral. And, you know, I'm sure people have seen it. You know, I've even put stuff out there. Some of this conspiracy theory stuff is that we had disaster capital, you know, that we basically created due to, you know, missing funds in the Treasury and our economy going in debt, which Joe Biden has acknowledged now, amazingly. Now it is acknowledged publicly that we have a significant debt and that the dollar is having an issue with value because of the gold reserves. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't invest accordingly, because he did address that. You're right, David, when you say that the infrastructure could reinvest in the economy. But the details of all these agreements, right? The Constitution is a contract. That's why we have to have an amendment to change it. And Section 14, or I'm sorry, Part 14, Section 4 pretty much says that anything our government agrees to as a debt, we taxpayers are responsible for. So we really better know these details, regardless of who we feel comfortable with, of who is in charge. Because they're going to matter. We're going to have to pay for it. Haiti had to, or yeah, the people of Haiti, if you look, there's a video, a fascinating video about them. They remain in debt today because of contractual obligations that their government had. Yeah, so this is the latest. Good for Mayor Bottoms.
Wait a minute. It says that she was President-elect Joe Biden has tapped Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms to serve in a top post at the Democratic National Committee, where she'll focus on voter engagement and protection. So she doesn't sound like she's leaving Atlanta. It's just
it's an appointment in DC, and I believe there's an affordable housing component that she's going to be on a board as well, which is fascinating because that was one of the campaign promises she ran on, which hasn't come to fruition in Atlanta at all. In fact, I think there's walls up now. I'm sorry, fences up around the Capitol. I'm just very suspect is all. I don't, you know, David, I did send over that information on email. I don't know if you've received it. But I just don't believe that there's a democracy when who is running is cherry picked. I don't think that's democratic. And we got two elite folks, you know, who are definitely better than the alternatives. You know, there's no doubt about that. But I just don't know if this ping pong of I can choose from A or B, and when I don't like A, I can only go to B. To me, that almost sounds like a setup, because all of those Republicans and Democrats all accepted salaries when we were in gridlock. Not one of them turned around and said, I will not take my $174,000 salary or use the company gym, the government uni-party company gym, while the American people are in gridlock, who we are paid to serve. Nobody said I only need 60 G's to survive. I'm giving back. Not one. So I'm sorry, I don't trust them. I'm a conspiracy.
Here's the article about I was pissed when I saw this. In the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of this homelessness crisis that we have specifically in Atlanta, this pissed me off that they would give themselves a freaking raise.
It shows the numbers too. 20,000 for our mayor, 20 G's, who already makes, you know, I want to say 180 or 200,000.
It says that the council voted to raise council members' annual salary from $60,300 to $72,360, and the council president's salary from $62,000 to $74,400. the mayor will get a pay bump of almost $20,000.
And that doesn't include, secondary income, which they're allowed to take, whether it's speaking engagement, book endorsements, all of that. It doesn't include that. It doesn't include the budgets that they receive. It doesn't include the grants that they take advantage of under the NPU, which has, been highly questionable. So, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Benita. Yeah, they're still poor today, despite ridiculous resources because of contractual obligations made by the government. Neoliberal versus, okay, I respect, everybody has the right to their opinion. I respect that you disagree. Real progressive groups have some macroeconomic teachings for everyone, or we become like them, the neoliberals through lack of knowledge. What did I say that was inaccurate? What U.S. government does not borrow or go into debt as a sovereign currency issuer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, Robbie.
Go ahead.
There's no gold. There is no gold. What do you call it? Backing for.
Correct. It's a fiat currency, which means it's all based on faith. Which means we have to trust in the ability.
Yeah, but there's no gold standard anymore for almost 90 years.
Correct. Why do you think that is?
Well, the point is that the federal government has that is the Federal Reserve can essentially issue money, and as long as the rest of the world and the big banks accept it, that money is a debt that the federal government can absorb. I mean, it's not as if the money is. Well, I'm getting tied up here because I usually start out this thing by talking about the Public Banking Institute, which is an organization led by a woman named Elaine Brown and this economist Michael Hudson. And what they say is that the banks, which are the big debtors, the financial institutions, and the institutional investors that are essentially managed by the big financial institutions, are the big owners of the debt. And that means that in effect, the U.S. population owes itself this money, and the big financial institutions are the ones who profit from it. And if you turn the banks into public utilities, which is what they are advocating, in other words, you either regulate them the way that power companies are regulated, or you nationalize them, which would completely transform the economy, and they play no role in the real economy except to suck it dry. So all of the things that are done to like, for instance, what you're talking about, housing bonds, these bonds sales for affordable housing, that's all handled by private banks, and they get a certain percentage, as a fee for floating these loans. Now imagine if you had a state bank in Georgia.
The latest articles on Bezos investing in affordable housing and all these companies investing in affordable housing, meaning that they're going to have collateral on these projects. And that's why the issue with reparations was so important, because we do have a problem with the dollar right now. We do have a problem with the value of the dollar. We have a problem in U.S. Treasury with missing money. There's been whistleblower reports on this. I mean, there are links all over. They're credible links. There's an issue with the state of the economy and our currency. That's why everyone's running around saying buy precious metals, gold, silver, even Bitcoin. People are looking at cryptocurrency because other countries are literally coming as superpowers, including China, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we need to be conscious of what's happening. When you build apartments, who gets value out of that? When Bezos puts apartments next to his Amazon warehouses and he now has employees, if it even goes to $15 an hour, $15 an hour times a 40-hour work week, what's that? 500 times 4, what are we talking? $2,000. So if we go to a universal income and he has affordable housing collateral where his folks can live, now we're controlling people's income, where they live, and a component of medical. That's an incredible amount of control to have over people. And had we done reparations prior, not after, if there is an issue with the dollar, it wouldn't have mattered. But you can give people away when the paper money doesn't mean anything.
Well,
so, sorry, I just.
And this is why reparations is more than just money to those of us who are descendants of slaves. This is why we're talking about land. Give us our land. And this is where I get so angry with the Democratic Party, because their buzzwords and their affordable housing, affordable health care.
Good union job.
On the Democratic plantation. Let me say that one more time. Affordable housing, affordable health care. It keeps us on this plantation and keeps us beholden to somebody like you just, what's his name, Bezos? Who did you just mention, Roz?
Basically investing in affordable housing all over Amazon, right? And so now who's the biggest landowner? The guy who owns Microsoft. It's just come out. He has a ridiculous acreage in Africa. Ironically, he's farming over there with milk, cow, and chickens, even though he's an environmentalist. This is all baffling. Like, line it up, put A and B and C and D together, and it's not hard to conclude by reasonable reasoning. Like, deductive reasoning will lead you down the path of where it is. You can feel better. I mean, anybody can feel better that Trump is gone now, although heavens, when you have someone that volatile, I would love to know what he would have said, because we might get a half full story out of it. I don't believe that the stories are full on the news. I just don't. And I don't, because I saw videos of that woman who was shot. I saw the video. I have a copy of the video, who was shot in the neck. She was a veteran. I saw a video of her talking about poor people and housing. Now, at the beginning of the video, she said something about Kamala. I don't know why. She was from California, I think. So maybe there was a reference. That being said, she does talk about poor people, homeless people, and poverty. And so clearly there was somebody upset over that there. I saw people kneeling in front of officers. I am not justifying it all, but I have also seen groups of people maligned in the media that I know not to be true. So I don't know what to believe anymore. I really don't. The ATV guys are a perfect example. In Atlanta, they look like criminals, when that is just not even accurate. I know those people. I know they want to park. I know they don't want an issue. It has been exacerbated, and the media fueled it. So, and when you look at, again, the money, look at what the media makes. Look at what our political industrial complex makes. I just don't see beyond where we're just paying for two political parties to keep their salaries and the media to keep making money off of these political.
Yeah, Robbie, you're not. I think that there's a dynamic between the two parties. It's clear that they are there to domesticate and keep under control two separate groups of people. All right. And the appeal that the Republicans have been making to the defense of white privilege is an effort to draw in or neutralize poor white working people, and to keep them away from and segregated from working people of color. And that is the social control system that exists. So what the Democrats have, who used to be the party of white working people, have abandoned them in favor of these of the establishment group, the upward striving groups of people of color, particularly African Americans, and a white upper middle class. That's the new Democratic coalition. and there's no room in it up until, I mean, we will see what happens. There's no room in it for European American poor working people. Not yet, anyway.
People showcased on the media who
That's
showed
the
up at
social
these
control system.
Trump
That is the way that the social control system is.
rally or whatever, rally turned insurrection, etc. There were tons of people with money there who were predominantly white.
That's exactly what I was gonna continue how I was gonna continue that. There are people who came in. There's one woman who came in from Texas on a private jet. There were hundreds and hundreds of people staying at $400 a night hotel rooms in DC, and there were also people like this woman who got killed, who was a small businesswoman, who was deeply. She took out a short-term loan at 169% interest, and the irony is, I mean, this I just heard this, reported. The irony is that she was directing her attack on not on the banks or on these payday lenders who are these loan sharks in effect, but at the Democrats, at the government. She has absolutely no idea of who her enemy really is, and so I'm just suggesting that this system works very, very well to distract and to distract people from the real enemy. The real enemy is the banks, the finance, insurance, and real estate sector of the economy, and the people who enable it, the 9.9%.
But those are our elected officials.
Yes, including elected officials, but other people, particularly in your profession, who are making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on real estate sales and are in cahoots with the banks.
Here's where I'm confused. You're talking about poor white people, but it wasn't poor white people that stormed the Capitol.
Well,
that's not what showcased. It wasn't. You're talking about. You're not the 9%, but it's the 9% who are included in both of our political parties. It is the 9% who run both the Democratic and Republican Party. That literally our senators, our House representatives are the 9%. Who do you what's his name? Ossoff is probably a 9%er. He's
more than that. He's more than that.
So a reverend who's ignoring 40, a reverend who's ignoring 50 deep homeless around the corner who was cherry picked, and he was the best choice.
We're getting into an argument when we agree with each other.
I'm not sure we agree. You're bringing up poor people when that's not who showed up at the Capitol, so that doesn't make sense.
I'm not denying that. I'm saying that's what I just said. I said they're leaving. They went to Washington in private jets and stayed in $400 a night hotel room.
Okay,
I'm agreeing with you, Robbie.
It doesn't sound like it. Calm down.
Okay. I'm trying to give you the point that there's a social control system at work to keep Black and white working people apart. And the way that they do that, the way that people like those, that was a lynch mob. That's what it was in Washington, a large lynch mob.
The only reason that I actually...
You're in? Okay. All right.
We interrupt each other all the time, David. It's a talk show. It's okay. You're not getting a lecture here, but go ahead.
No, go ahead, Robbie. Make your point. Davis needs a sip of water. He needs a sip of water.
I'm trying to follow. Maybe I'm missing something, but this sounds like something else here, personal, and I don't know what's going on. Okay, I am not. Let me make clear. I am not the type of agent who makes money off of ripping people off. I know that there's 17,000 agents in Georgia. Okay, I'm not part of that game. That being said, it is very confusing to me when you're talking about white people being abandoned in a social order and political parties keeping people apart. That part I understand. But white people, who are white people, didn't show up to storm. And that is confusing. I don't fully understand what was on the media because it seems like a show to me. I think that the 1 to 9% are part of our government, and I don't hear discussion of how we're going to get outside of these option A and option B. I see people, frankly, I see you, David, like, we got to go for the Democrats. We got to go for the Democrats. I mean, last show I listened, you're telling Tamara, well, it's okay that the Democratic Party cherry picked and ran against you, basically worked against you. I don't understand why that's okay. I don't understand why it's okay to funnel into somebody and fund their campaign and gobble up all the media to force this person to win. And on top of it, they are elite too. Ossoff is an elite. Reverend Warnock is an elite. And it's horrible that our only options are the worsen. So, I don't believe in this anymore. And I don't know that we can trust our media. Please.
Well, I agree with you about that. I mean, I feel that, I'm as brainwashed as the next person by MSNBC, and I try to watch it very, very carefully now. But somebody just came on and said, poor whites and ADOS are not the same. Absolutely. Absolutely. The difference between I can't read these scrolls, and it distracts me.
The difference is poor whites couldn't afford to go to the Capitol. Okay, so I don't know what the hell.
Now you're saying that it's not, that it is poor whites who went to the Capitol.
I said they couldn't afford to go to the Capitol.
They could not afford. Yeah,
they could not afford.
Yes.
So I don't understand.
They can't take the time off from work. So the people who were there were either people who were involved in heavily in the QAnon, Proud Boys, all of these secret societies, which are in effect the same thing, neo-Nazis. These are the people that coalesce around the Klan, and they're armed, they're dangerous, but they are not capable, as we have seen. They are not capable of producing an organized coup d'état. They didn't do what they did in spite of what the.
No, but they are very capable, with the help of our media, of literally indoctrinating anyone into watching this political soap opera while we don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
While our gatekeepers, our 1 to 9%, who are our elected officials, are out there making contracts that we're responsible for. The truth is half the people I know don't understand how the dollar works. They don't know what the Fed is. We don't teach it in school. They don't know what federal banking is. They don't even fully understand that we fund all of this. Literally, like I'm starting to wonder why I'm paying income taxes anymore. I don't understand.
You're paying income taxes because you'll get arrested if you don't. That's
well, there's actually a bill, Robbie, just on the heels of what you just said. I saw this as I'm keeping up with Congress. Buddy Carter, one of our representatives, introduced the bill to get rid of income taxes and abolish the IRS. And
I would vote for that.
There's legislation out there to get rid of all of this.
Yeah, and what happens then is that the people who the billionaires get to keep even more of what they're stealing from the rest of us. You have to have a progressive income tax. You have to have control over wealth. And
comment on this screen about
the Republican Party has been enabling the reduction. I heard Kellyanne Conway last night talking about what a big achievement of the Trump administration was to reduce the corporate income tax from 36% to 23%. What does that mean? That concentrates wealth into the hands of the.
Not about Trump, but that comment about the banks.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just mentioning the point that the income tax in the last Trump enabled by the Republican Party. There were no Democrats who voted for this. Okay, enabled by the Republican Party in the tax, so-called the tax changes in 2017 reduced the corporate income tax from 36% to 23%. Who does that benefit? All right. And the point is that there is a difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats would probably want to restore the corporate income tax to 27 or 28%. But there's a radical wing. There is a left wing within the Democratic Party now that is exerting pressure and I don't feel comfortable with them either, because they don't see fully the social control system that I keep on reiterating is how this country works to create these concentrations of wealth. And you are absolutely right that Warnock and Ossoff are part. I mean, Ossoff is part of the 1%. You know what his net worth is? Talk about family worth.
He bought a company off of inheritance, but hey,
well, his net worth is somewhere between $3 and $8 million. And I looked this up in their campaign disclosures. You mentioned this last week. Reverend Warnock makes, as the minister of Ebenezer Baptist Church, makes $250,000 a year.
$275,000.
Well, on his disclosure form it said 250, but
it's 275, not including speaking engagements, which can go up to 10,000.
Yeah, and he just did a speaking engagement about a year ago with
Have got up to 10,000.
I'm forgetting the name of the university.
Making a whole lot of damn money.
This university.
I just don't understand, if this is a legitimate system, how all those homeless camps and what happened in that community.
It's not a legitimate system. Of course it's not a legitimate system, Robbie. Of course it's not.
Okay, I've never heard you not say that. Well, then why are we all running? Like, this is what I don't understand either.
Well, you want to not pay your income taxes. Don't pay your income taxes. I mean, the point is that
all I said was that I would vote for that. That's all I said. Obviously, I'd pay income taxes.
So go vote for these right-wing libertarians, who want to abolish income tax.
David,
I don't think
we have two options. I think that this illusion of option A or option B is actually what is damaging us the most, because whenever we get too frustrated with the other, I'm sorry, we don't have another way out. So every time there's an election year, and we literally, I do think we should get beyond this discussion. Look, I certainly don't want to argue. However, I see all these people co-signing even the fraud component. Look, when I went to vote, I tried to take a selfie. I didn't know, and they were like, no, and an officer was called, and I had to go in, and I was like, well, can I take a picture of what I'm doing? And they were like, no pictures, no whatever. So I put my little paper in. When that registers, how do I know it's going to who I voted for? Now I'm all seeing everywhere that Daniel Blackman is like, I voted for Daniel Blackman. I see all types of news now that Daniel Blackman wasn't on the ticket for some people and so on. Yeah. Do we understand how do I know? I mean, I don't understand why this is so, and now all these people saying, hey, there was I don't know that. And I think we're getting clouded. It does not take away from the work that Stacey Abrams did. That was valuable work, but that doesn't mean that there's not a question here. And the other thing with the police, the police co-signing to this insurrection, which clearly there was something on the back end that people were able to get in, that these things were disarmed. One thing that made it credible to me was when AOC came out and said, I was in fear of my life. I was like, okay, she's legitimate. I know she wouldn't lie. That being said, everyone knows that Black people, if that were Black people, they would have been shot. Everyone knows that, right? So I still am lost. That doesn't mean that something didn't happen here that we may not know the full context of, because our media is compromised
Yes,
right, you committed
I
it.
mean, it's not only the media, it's the intelligence and the federal law enforcement. We don't know because the Justice Department has been under the control of the Trump administration for almost 4 years. The people who are in charge, we just don't know. We don't know if Trump is going to pardon all of these people. He can do that. He can
I know, but
pardon all of
this
them.
was before Trump too, David. When we bailed out Wall Street and pensions were an issue and Social Security came up, how did that happen? Who did that happen under? So this just didn't start.
Yeah, I understand that, Robbie. I mean, I'm saying Trump in the sense that the Republican Party enabled him for the last 4 years. They did it for judges, for the evangelical right. They did it for tax breaks for the top 1% who have concentrated wealth. I mean, the 500 billionaires have made in the world in the last year have made something almost $2 trillion collectively, and there are something like 150 million people who are more than there were before the pandemic who are facing starvation in the world today. And the organizations, the world, the UN organizations are now pleading with the billionaires to give them, to contribute $10 billion, 1/10 or 1/20 of what they've accumulated to prevent people from starving. So they're begging these billionaires. They're literally, the United Nations is begging these billionaires to give back a little bit of what they've earned. This is not a way to run things, and it's clear that one of the reasons that people are begging, that international agencies are begging them, is because there isn't the power to change these people should be given a stipend of $100,000 a year, and an alternative, $100,000 a year, or go to prison. And everything should be confiscated from them. We're dealing with a situation in which what happened with the social media and Trump is that 5 people who are worth $50 to $100 billion decided to take him off their platforms. That is too much power, and everybody knows it, and they should be turned into public utilities the same way as the banks should. Those corporations, that Facebook with 3 billion people who participate in it, are too big. They are too big to control. They have to be controlled by some democratically elected agency or entities. And that's the rub. That's the complication here, because if you do that, if you try to to enforce a democratic public utility control, you get a situation like what's happened with Blackman, and he can't get elected, and yet the Democrats were able to get the 2 senators elected. Why is that? How is it that the down ballot that you saw Warnock and Ossoff with hundreds, thousands of ads on television and nothing for Blackman? That position of public utility commissioner is a crucial position. And to get a Democrat, to get a progressive Democrat into that position, I don't know what's happening with him. I just got his emails saying, if you did not find my name on the ballot, please contact me. But what's happening with that? I mean, it's a contested. I guess it's contested. Is his legal defense, or contest of the election, is it being funded by the Democrats? They poured $100 million into the Senate races. So you're absolutely right. There's something that stinks about this. It stinks, and The only thing I'm saying here is
David, let Robbie talk a little bit, please.
No. I don't.
oh, okay. Well,
David, you are. I love you, but you know you taking over today.
well, I mean, I'm agreeing with her. I'm agreeing with her that there's something rotten about this, and but I'm trying to connect it with the fact that we have a working class in this country that is separate and unequal, and that's the ultimate layer of social control. That's how 74 million people vote for Trump. And you've got a little fanatical private army that attempts to pathetically attempts to. I'm not denying that there weren't 5 people killed and one of them a police officer. Another police officer committed suicide. This was horrible, dangerous stuff. We have Republican congressmen who may very well have been in on it by giving passes to people to go to reconnaissance as Mikey Sherrill said, to reconnaissance the Capitol. They knew where to go. And everybody says, including Michael Moore, says that the Capitol is so confusing that you can't find your way. That's how that one Capitol police officer was able to divert that group from where they were 100 feet away from Pence, while they were shouting, lynch, lynch, hang mob. That's what the word means. Hang Mike Pence. That's a lynching. All right, that's what they were talking about. So I think that there are lots of layers to this, a lot of layers. And it isn't simple to suss it out, but the reason that the media works the way it does, is certainly to protect and preserve
So I'm gonna jump in, David. Let me jump in. I want to talk about Robbie. I'm not sure if y'all saw my post this week, but it's got well over 300 comments on it from yesterday, where I wanted to talk about the fact that Joe Biden made a promise. Joe Biden made a $2,000 promise to us, and this article is from January the 5th, but he made this promise here in Georgia on January the 4th. And here's what he said. This is what he said, everybody. He said, if you send John Ossoff and the Reverend Raphael Warnock to Washington, those $2,000 checks will go out the door, restoring hope and decency for so many people who are struggling right now. But we're getting $1,400 from the Biden administration. So there's been they've been arguing all since yesterday on this post about the fact that, if you subtract the $600 from the $2,000, that's 14, and it adds up. But that is not what the hell Joe Biden said. And I think we should be mindful that this was a promise that he made, that if those seats were delivered, which they were delivered, that he would give Americans this $2,000 stimulus. And how dare he subtract what the Trump administration, the $600 that was agreed on in the Trump administration, how dare he subtract that from what he promised? So I just want to put that out. That's been a huge debate on my Facebook page, everybody. So let me stop sharing. It's been a huge debate on my Facebook page. Huge debate.
Well,
go ahead, Robbie. I'm sorry.
No, to your point, David, and to Tamara's point, the difference between Daniel Blackman and John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock is Daniel Blackman has come on the show before and was homegrown. He was not a DC pick. And both parties need to stop cherry picking candidates and interfering in local elections without don't block people who are homegrown. Tamara's homegrown. So you're hurting your own constituency. And on top of it, you're not even keeping your own promises. And the saddest part is that's our best option. But in the reality, when Raphael Warnock was talking about what Kelly Loeffler didn't do, where she didn't show up for and she didn't cover her job, he was right. But he's standing outside of a church with 50 homeless people living around it while he's making $275. Some people would argue he's not on duty either. And if those are our only choices and they're going to manipulate our races and our media is manipulated and our elects are 9%, then to Robert Thompson's credit, who's come on this show, the historian, we really need to radically change our governmental system and maybe a lottery so that they don't know, maybe literally voting by lottery. We might want to consider that so we can take that money out of it because those millionaires own them. They do, David, you're right. I mean, they own them, and we can't hold anybody accountable, even the president right now. Even our new president won't keep his promise. I mean, they voted for their own pay raises the same day as the election.
When nobody was paying attention. When everybody's attention was over on the election, and they go and give themselves a damn raise in the midst of a pandemic.
And I'm supposed to trust the vaccine in my body with these people? I'm supposed to trust all that media propaganda with somebody getting a shot when I'm supposed to trust that? We don't teach people about money. There's no reason for reduced stimulus. Correct, yes. We don't teach people about money. Our education systems, our indoctrinations, our governmental systems and media is compromised. And I'm supposed to trust. No, I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it all. I do wonder where the missing money in the treasury is. I do wonder where the former assistant HUD secretary, who was a whistleblower, who they literally tore apart her life legally, Catherine Austin Fitz or something. I do wonder where the money she's talking about is. I sent you the article, David. There was no response. Don't you wonder that?
I'm overwhelmed. So I'll get to it when I can. I'm just overwhelmed. I can't read everything. I'm reading,
It's the strategy to keep people too stupid to question anything, and it has worked. Too many parents stop policing school curricula.
Yeah, I mean I think Robbie's point that there is that the misinformation and the disinformation and the distraction is universal is well taken. There is. And it's very hard for people to figure out, what is actually going on around them, and so and the ability of people who are working two jobs, and all of the I don't agree with that. Rejecting the vaccines seems to be just at a certain point, we have to think about what's going on. I mean, I don't know. It's just it really is overwhelming to me to think that people are we have an institutional framework for public health. It is very, very weak in this country. The underlying structure of public health in this country is a result of having private health insurance and this whole, the whole way that the system operates, for decades and decades. And the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare is part of it because they reinforced the private health insurance system. But what is there? The development of vaccines, the messenger RNA vaccines. They've been working on this for 20 years. They've been working on coronavirus vaccines, and all of this, all that's been happening in the last year is.
And they finally got it right, David, or do they need test subjects to see if they've gotten it right?
They've done all of that. These are the guidelines for the Federal Drug Administration and for the way that you test vaccines. They've done all of these things, doing the procedures, but the way that the way that they're supposed to. And yes, we do have to trust that to some extent. But if you start ending up as anti-vaxxers, people who don't get their kids vaccinated for measles and rubella and all of these other things, then you end up with a country where I don't know what you do okay, all right, now we have another one.
I had a client
The
yesterday.
valence chips are in the vaccines. You mean there's oh my God.
So here's the thing. I had a client yesterday.
Nanotechnology is not that advanced. Surveillance chips.
I had a client yesterday who works for the CDC, and I asked her because I trust her. I know her personally. She has a daughter. Her daughter was actually exposed to COVID, and she's going to take it. She said she was going to wait 6 months, and I asked her, give me the skinny on it. So she's looking for a house, had a hell of a time. That being said, I don't know. I'm an independent contractor. I own my own firm. I don't know, and I'm not suggesting people shouldn't or should. What I do know is that just because someone says this is a real virus doesn't mean that this wasn't part of a different plan. I do believe the virus is real.
Now the virus itself is a conspiracy.
No, that's not what she said.
Okay.
That's not what she said, David.
It's real. 400,000 people are dead.
That's not what she said, David. That's not what she said, David.
I'm not saying the virus isn't real. It's real. It doesn't mean that it wasn't part of a different plan. I honestly, I don't know. I have no way.
And I've read stuff about this.
So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know if this is part of it. Are we talking about the same government? Are we talking about the same government with syphilis who injected syphilis into people? Are we talking about the same country here? Are we talking about the same imperialist government who starts wars in other countries to make money here? Are we talking about?
There are different parts of that government. And some of them need to work. And that's where the Republicans enabling Trump have created a situation in which the deep state, the people who actually run the government, are saying these people are breaking the parts of the government that we absolutely need to function, like the Food and Drug Administration, like all of these others. Now there's a what do you call an economist named Dean Baker who says, all right, there's an economist named Dean Baker who wrote a book called Rigged, which is where I get this concept of the 9.9% from. And he says that we should take control. There should no longer be patents, that patents should be abolished, and the federal government should finance research and development and leave all research open to anybody who wants to use it.
And on that note, let me stop you while we have a break here. Did David freeze? He had to freeze. David, we're at the top of the hour. We're actually 2 minutes over. I want to thank. This is a great conversation this morning. Every Saturday we give voice to issues, activists, and activism right here in the great state of Georgia. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. You can find me at tamarashealy.com. You can find Mr. David Slavin right here on Facebook at Acknowledge the Divide, and you can always find the beautiful Miss Robbie Caban at robbiecaban.com. We'll be back next Saturday, and you find me on YouTube Tuesday through Thursday for Keeping Up with Congress, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great week, everybody.
Solidarity forever means privileges never.
Shout out, Daniel.
Shout out, Daniel.
Daniel Blackman, come on the show and tell us what happened. What's going on?
I'm